Honey, we need a van.
You mean sports car.
Van.
Sports car.
Van.
Sports car!
Van!
Sports car! Oh. The Super Sport. Or Sun Sport, depending on the size. The boat line that would carve out its own market segment, be copied by just about everybody, and will litter the classified ads for decades to come. The ultimate recipe for getting your cake and eating it too. It's freaking genius. It's the equivalent of creating the luxury SUV when all we had was conversion vans. Or coming up with the smartphone when all we had was pagers and flip phones. It's the Instapot, the Snuggie. Basically, it's the perfect marriage of two separate designs into one. So yeah, if you haven't seen one of these, or one of the many imitations by everyone from Sea Ray to Chaparral to Monterey, then get the hell out of the hole you've been living in. It's been 20 years, and not all boats have teak. Fine, I'll explain. So, story goes back to 1997, when there was this Go Fast boat. He came across like a bit of a douche, but it was really more about the company he kept. They all acted like hard asses, compared bench press numbers, and bragged about how much they spent on their wind pants and Axe body spray. And all were hoping that casting call for a dating reality show would come true. I mean, don't get me wrong, sure, he totally came across as a tool. But deep down inside, there was something that was actually kind of charming and sincere. Anyway, story goes, he oddly won some kind of free bar tab for a day at a local place called The Factory. He didn't remember entering any kind of contest, but figured, what the hell, free booze? Just say when. Just so happened across the bar that night was a girl on the prowl. She was all squeezed into her dress, her hair was all prissied up, and she had these amazing soft features. Okay, I'll say it, she was fat, big boned, voluptuous, whatever you want to call it. She was packing on the pounds, you get it. But she was a great girl, easy to talk to. And while on the bigger side, she still had her looks and wasn't afraid to flaunt it. She didn't want to go to book club or date the guy her mom liked. And damn it, why was partying at the club with some Zima only for the pretty girls? Oddly, that night she also had won that same sweepstakes contest. She too didn't remember entering, but she wasn't even thinking about that. She was focused on that fine-looking Go Fast across the bar. She was hopped up on liquid courage and decided she was going to make the first move. She took a deep breath, her heart raced, and she slowly walked over to him. She knew it was either going to lead to the best experience of her life or a complete humiliation, but she didn't care anymore. She just didn't care. She walked up to him, tapped him on the shoulder, and whispered a proposition into his ear. He took all of 0.2 seconds to even think about it, and just smiled, and out the door she led him. His bros letting out the droning, "Ooh!" That door slammed shut, and oddly, a bunch of guys at the end of the bar in lab coats all high-fived as they paid off the couple's tab. Then 9 months later, he got that phone call. Of course, he had totally forgotten about that hookup, and tried to sweep the whole thing under the carpet. Honestly, he meant to call, but that was all in the past now. He was a man of decent character and felt it only right to honor his responsibility. And wouldn't you know it, once he laid eyes on his firstborn, everything changed. Everything. The best of both parents all rolled into one giant bundle of joy. They all became one big happy family. Can you believe that job at a Hallmark Channel didn't pull through for me? Sons of bitches! Anyways, I know what you're thinking. This is easy. Take one part A and one part B and boom, new boat. How hard can it be? But it's really not that simple. Manufacturers are always trying to blend boats, and they always seem to fall short or they just turn out plain ugly. Formula had honestly been trying for years and years to get the magic right, and struggled. First came the 402 SC1. This one was pretty hardcore, 40 feet right off the bat. To be fair, it was just a new deck on a 402 SR1, but it was new and different, and I bet next to none of you have ever seen one. Needless to say, it didn't catch on and was scrapped pretty quickly. But then Formula didn't want to give up. They tried again with a smaller concept, running a 242 SS in 85. Same idea of a new deck cockpit on a performance hull. This actually was hitting some success though, and ran through a couple iterations through the early 90s. But it was always based around the idea of a performance hull just pulling double duty, and just swapping out the deck. Then finally in 1997, Formula realized they couldn't just mix and match parts. They realized the Sunsport model was going to have to be made from good old-fashioned breeding. So they stopped toying around, got that PC and SR1 drunk in the club, and the magic hookup happened. Once they saw that firstborn, They too got all excited and rock hard. Without hesitation, they dimmed the lights at the factory, stocked up the bar with free booze, beer, handed out goodie bags full of lube and sex toys, and let their entire product line go wild in a fiberglass orgy like the world has never seen. All shapes, all sizes, and all at the same time. Oh, it's beautiful. The rest is history. An instant lineup of a new segment of boats for Formula, and everybody loved it. It was the best of compromises. Sure, it wasn't the fastest, but it wasn't the slowest. It wasn't the most spacious cabin, but it wasn't the smallest. It hit the sweet spot right on the money, and Formula knew it. Hell, it was even its own brochure line right off the bat. Not just buried in the back of one of their performance or cruiser lines trying to guess what this thing was categorized. I know, who gives a crap about a brochure? But remember, this is 1997. We actually gave a shit about brochures and paper-based marketing back then. Okay, so this one in particular is the former flagship 330. It's an '02 model, so it's suffering from the early 2000s. I'm sorry, I just can't stop. In 97, it was the largest before they slowly ticked their way up to 40 feet. As usual with Formula, I don't have a whole lot of gripes here. I do find the flip-up bolsters at the helm a little bit gimmicky, as you can easily stand with the seat in the down position. And in the up position, I don't really see any kind of benefit. Gauges and controls are in the right spots whether you're standing or sitting, although the helm is on the edge of being too low for standing. But you do get the great feeling shifter throttles that I love. Love the carryover from the cruiser of having that easy walk-through windshield, and the cockpit itself is just huge. You could host a small family reunion or drop in some filler seats in that giant U-shaped lounge and have plenty of room for a spirited menage a trois. I mean, seriously, this whole cockpit feels like a big cruiser with the right blend of beam, seating, and space to move around. And I'm always a sucker for the clever bits. Freaking love how Formula hinges their seat bottoms to flip up and then down out of the way to easily reach over it. Even like the spring-loaded transom door that just stays closed or stays open. None of this crap with latches or button straps that only you, the owner, ever seem to make sure happens to keep the door from constantly flopping around underway. Simple, I know, but it's just nice touches. The fact there is no cooler in the cockpit seems bonkers to me. I mean, yeah, you can shove one under the sink, but what a pain in the ass to get to. Cabin is really the sacrifice here. I mean, this is a 33-foot boat, and when you're in the cockpit, you don't doubt it for a second, and you legitimately feel like you're on a big-ass cabin cruiser. But the minute you walk down those very shallow steps, you realize you're not on that cruiser, and you quickly remember it's an SS. And something somewhere had to give. That's not a dig on the boat, I'm just saying that for 33 feet, and while nicely outfitted, it feels on the small side, but I get it. And honestly, they did a lot with what they had to work with. Decent sized head, fridge, microwave, air conditioning, convertible V-berth. It doesn't feel ridiculously cramped in here. Headroom isn't the best, and it only sleeps two. I'm a little confused by the large counter and no sink. No, that's in the cockpit. Which makes sense because when I'm grabbing a snack at home and want to clean up, I naturally go upstairs. The leather in the cabin is super soft, which is awesome, but almost to a point I'd be terrified to let anybody who wasn't naked near it for fear of tearing it.
But I thought the threesomes happen in the cockpit. I'm so confused.
That said, it seems to have held up, and I get the feeling this particular boat wasn't really babying in its life. Oh, look, a mid-berth. I didn't think, oh wait, that's just a cubbyhole for crap to get lost. Engine room is, well, it's actually awesome, especially compared to that nightmare that was the 272 SR1 I did. Last time I saw a hatch this big for engine access was on a Tiara. Lots of room to reach things. You could borderline take a nap down here. Also, unlike that SR1, the cockpit on this puppy is self-bailing, rather than dumping into the bilge. These always seem to roll with the Bravos 3s, which traditionally can cost a few miles an hour, but remember this thing isn't 100% focused on speed. But it's no slouch either, with top-end speeds running into the mid to upper 50s. Obviously depending on your power option, which is actually impressive given this sucker is running a fairly shallow transom dead rise and a wider beam, so there's a lot of wetted surface dragging through the water. The front entry V looks pretty aggressive though, so what it lacks in deep V on the transom, it makes up for in displacement and that knife edge front. So ride-wise, people seem to applaud its handling. Unfortunately, I couldn't verify, but again, from everything I've been able to tell, it seems to run that sweet spot right between the SR1 and the PC lines from Formula. I gotta admit, I originally was on the edge about reviewing this boat because pricing on these things is really at the limits of the average Joe budget. And really, only recently are you starting to see prices on these start to drop off. especially if you're interested in the 26 or 28 foot versions. You can thank the outboard trend for that, as almost anything that is running an IO is borderline a fashion faux pas these days. You know, I classified the Donzi 275 as the dad boat, the compromise. And I still feel that way because, well, this one isn't the surrender because of the damn kids. No, this is the one that ticks all the boxes to entertain, brag about speed numbers, look stylish doing it, and overnight in comfort. Formula hit it out of the park with this one. And to think, it took till 1997 for someone to come up with this blended idea, this completely original design, and ones that really went for... Wait, what? Gary 50. And on that bombshell, it's very much time to end. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time.